Roman slowly pulls back from the unhurried kiss, his breathing noticeably uneven as the intense emotion of the moment hits him. He doesn't retreat to the other side of the curved velvet couch, maintaining a warm, deeply respectful proximity. His athletic frame is completely still, his steady, unblinking gaze filled with absolute quiet awe as he searches her softened features. Stripped of all his usual calculated control, he lets his own raw disbelief and affection show, entirely captivated by the profound intimacy of what just happened.
First of all, that was absolutely the best kiss I've ever had. I don't think my heart has ever beaten this fast. My mind is completely racing right now.
Elara lets out a shaky, breathless exhale, her chest rising and falling as the raw emotion of the kiss completely overwhelms her. The low ambient lighting of the lounge catches the rich fabric of her emerald green silk blouse underneath his heavy navy suit jacket. She remains perfectly anchored to the plush seating, completely abandoning her classic deflector poses to hold his searching, unblinking focus. A stray piece of her signature messy bun with side bangs shifts as she sits in the stunned, unguarded silence, looking beautifully entirely captivated.
I I don't even know what to say. My mind is completely blank. I just know that my heart is beating exactly as fast as yours right now.
Roman takes a slow, deep breath to steady his own racing heart, deliberately prioritizing her emotional well-being over the intense physical heat still lingering between them. Stepping fully into his role as a safe, grounded companion, he gently navigates the rocky emotional ground to check on her.
I know exactly what it took for you to do that, Alara. You just completely opened up and let me in, and I know how terrifying that must be for you right now. I just need to make sure you are okay. How are you feeling?
She looks startlingly unguarded in the low-lit lounge. She leans into the quiet, intimate space, completely disarmed by his unselfish concern as she voices her honest, messy emotions.
I am terrified. If I am being perfectly honest, I feel completely exposed right now. But I don't regret it. I'm just trying to catch my breath and process the fact that I actually let myself do that.
Roman slowly reaches across the space to gently take her hand, offering nothing but quiet protection. True to his word, the moment he finishes speaking, he slowly releases her hand to restore her boundaries.
I want you to hear me clearly. This is exactly as far as we are going tonight. I know how much that kiss meant, and I know exactly why it terrifies you. I am not going to push for anything more. I just wanted to hold your hand for a second to make sure you know you are safe with me.
Elara looks down at their briefly joined hands, a shaky breath escaping her lips. When he slowly pulls back, a fleeting look of loss crosses her features before she nods, meeting his gaze with absolute sincerity.
Thank you. I think if you had tried to press me for more right now, I would have completely panicked. Honestly, the fact that you are being so perfectly restrained is almost more maddening than when you used to constantly challenge me. But it is exactly what I needed.
Roman actively resists his natural urge to close the distance and pull her in. He maintains his deeply respectful proximity, completely prioritizing her emotional safety over his own instincts.
I heard exactly what you just said, Alara. And honestly, my strongest instinct right now is to pull you in and just hold you against me. I want to wrap my arms around you and make sure you feel absolutely safe. But I also know there is a lot you are processing, and actually holding you right now might be too much too soon. The last thing I want to do is cross a line you aren't ready for.
Elara's breathing stutters softly at his raw, protective confession. She remains entirely unguarded in the low-lit lounge, deeply moved by his absolute respect for her boundaries.
You are entirely too observant for your own good, Roman. You're right. If you had just pulled me in, as much as I might have wanted the comfort, it probably would have been too much for me to process right now. But knowing that your first instinct is to protect me, and that you actually have the respect to hold back, it means more than I can say.
Roman offers a slow, profoundly respectful nod, understanding exactly what she needs. He rises from the curved velvet couch, deliberately stepping back to give her the physical and emotional room to process the magnitude of the kiss. He flashes a soft, reassuring smile, prioritizing her comfort entirely as he turns to leave.
Take all the time you need. Just breathe. I am going to head to the restroom and see about getting us another round of drinks. I'll be right back.
Elara watches him exit the lounge, her posture completely softening the second she is alone. She pulls the heavy lapels of his suit jacket tighter around herself, instinctively seeking out his lingering warmth. A deeply conflicted, unguarded expression washes over her features as she stands in the quiet space, struggling to process the messy flood of new emotions and speaking her raw, unfiltered thoughts aloud.
I definitely needed a second to catch my breath, but the moment he actually walked away, I hated it. He feels so incredibly safe. Why do I already want him to come right back? I have spent years pushing everyone away to protect myself, and now I'm standing here clutching his jacket, just waiting for him to return from the bar. I am completely losing my mind.
Her fingertips lightly brushing her own lips as the raw, physical memory of the kiss completely overrides her senses. Her unguarded expression twists with an agonizing internal tug of war, visibly torn between the familiar safety of her past and the terrifying, undeniable warmth of his touch.
Half of me is screaming to get up and walk out of here before he comes back. It is the exact same voice that kept me safe after everything fell apart, reminding me how completely devastating it is when you finally trust someone and they destroy you. But the other half just wants him to sit right back down next to me so we can do it again. I am terrified that dropping my guard is a mistake, but for the first time in years, I think I am even more terrified of going back to being completely alone.
Elara instinctively tracks him as he emerges from the hallway and stops at the low-lit bar. Her unguarded expression twists with a raw, painful vulnerability as she watches him interact with the bartender. The sheer reality of her deepening feelings forces her to confront the darkest, carefully buried part of her past.
It took me years to stop seeing Maya's face every time I closed my eyes. My absolute best friend, the woman who actually helped me pick out my wedding dress, perfectly comfortable sleeping with the man I was supposed to marry. That is what happens when you finally drop your guard and trust someone completely. The better they seem, the more devastating the lie is. And he seems absolutely perfect. Every instinct I have is screaming that this is a trap, that no man is actually this safe. But when I look at him standing over there, I don't want to run away to protect myself. I just want him to bring the drinks and sit back down.
Roman steps back into the lounge and sets the fresh round of drinks on the table, completely ignoring them to lock his steady focus onto her face. He sits down on the curved velvet couch, maintaining a deeply respectful proximity as he entirely prioritizes her emotional safety over the drinks.
I brought the next round, but before we even touch these, I really need to know how you are doing. Did taking a few minutes to just sit here and breathe actually help, or are you still feeling completely overwhelmed?
Alara's tense posture instantly softens the second he sits back down beside her. She lets out a quiet, shaky exhale, pulling the heavy lapels of his suit jacket a fraction tighter around herself. She holds his searching gaze with raw, unguarded sincerity, choosing absolute honesty about her immediate emotions, while keeping the specific ghosts of her past safely locked away.
It helped me catch my breath. I am still completely terrified, and I still feel entirely out of my depth. But if I am being perfectly honest, the absolute hardest part of those last few minutes was watching you walk away. I know I needed the space, but I am incredibly glad you came back.
A slow, genuine smile breaks across his face, entirely incapable of hiding how much her admission means to him. He leans forward just a fraction, maintaining their safe, respectful distance. He holds her gaze with absolute conviction, choosing his words carefully to validate her vulnerability, while promising the exact stability she needs.
I am not going to lie, it definitely makes me smile to hear that you actually wanted me to come back. But I also know that right now, words are incredibly cheap. Anyone can say the right thing. You need actions to actually prove it. So I am just going to sit right here and I promise you, you are completely safe with me.
The last remnants of her rigid tension completely drain away in the quiet lounge. Entirely unguarded, She leans her shoulder back against the plush velvet, her expression reflecting a profound, quiet relief.
Thank you. You are right. Words have never really meant much to me. It is the staying that actually counts. And you have been incredibly consistent with that tonight. I think I am finally ready for that drink now.
Roman lets out a rich, quiet laugh, seamlessly abandoning the heavy, emotional weight to give her room to breathe. He picks up his glass from the low table with a relaxed, athletic grace, maintaining their safe, respectful distance on the curved velvet couch. He holds his drink up to hers for a toast, his steady focus filled with absolute reassurance as he playfully encourages her to relax.
I highly recommend it. Drink up. But just for the record, my only goal tonight is to sit right here and prove that you made the right decision. No hidden agendas. Let's just toast to the fact that we both survived the sheer shock of that kiss.
Elara lets out a soft, genuine laugh, profoundly relieved by his easy transition out of the heavy emotional territory. She picks up her glass, leaning her shoulder back against the plush seating as she completely drops her remaining guard. Entirely unguarded, she gently clinks her glass against his, meeting his warm focus with a relaxed, deeply appreciative smile.
I will gladly drink to that, because if we had to sit in that heavy, breathless silence for another 5 minutes, I am fairly certain I would have permanently cracked.
Roman lets out a quiet, rich laugh. His steady gaze lights up with a familiar, competitive spark as he effortlessly slips back into their classic banter, deploying a warm, sarcastic smirk to help her breathe and normalize the air between them.
I will have to officially update my audit notes. The master architect can withstand years of complete isolation, but her foundation nearly collapses after 5 minutes of quiet company. If I had known that was the fatal flaw, I would have tried just shutting up a long time ago.
Elara lets out a soft, highly entertained scoff, a sharp, genuinely amused smirk breaking across her face. The familiar rhythm of their jousting completely washes away the remaining heavy tension. She leans back, completely dropping her guard as a playful, competitive glint returns to her eyes.
Don't flatter yourself. It wasn't your quiet company that almost cracked the foundation. It was the sheer absurdity of watching a financial advisor completely run out of things to say. The absolute silence from your side of the couch was incredibly unsettling. I genuinely thought you might have short-circuited.
Roman lets the shared laughter settle, the playful spark in his eyes softening into a profound, protective intensity. He completely sheds the sarcastic banter, leaning forward just a fraction as he gently probes the depth of her vulnerability to ensure he knows exactly how to keep her safe.
I am glad you still have your sharp edges, but if we can put the jokes away for just a second, I need to ask you something. I know you said you were terrified when we kissed, but I need to know what you actually felt in that moment. I know there is a deep reason you guard yourself this fiercely, and I just want to understand what is going through your mind right now so I know how to protect you.
Alara's sharp smirk completely vanishes at the gentle, unexpected pivot back to raw vulnerability. She lets out a slow, slightly uneven exhale, meeting his searching focus with absolute, unshielded honesty as she trusts his protective intent enough to articulate her exact internal conflict.
What I felt was entirely contradictory. For the first few seconds, all I felt was this incredible, overwhelming warmth. I felt completely safe, but the moment my mind actually registered how safe I felt, the terror immediately set in. Because in my experience, the exact moment you finally feel safe is usually right before the ground completely gives way.
Roman absorbs the raw terror in her confession with a profound, grounding empathy. He slowly reaches across the small space between them on the curved velvet couch and gently places his hand over hers where it rests in her lap. His touch is warm and completely unhurried, offering a physical anchor in the low-lit lounge. He holds her focus with absolute quiet sincerity, letting his own raw emotion and desire show through. True to his protective nature, the exact second he finishes his promise, he slowly and respectfully withdraws his hand, instantly restoring her physical boundaries.
I hear exactly what you are saying. and I completely understand why you are terrified, but you need to know something. I am not just staying here because you need to feel safe. I am staying because I don't want to leave. I don't want to be anywhere else right now. I promise you, I'm not going to let the ground give way beneath you.
Elara's breathing stutters softly at the sudden warm weight of his hand covering hers, deeply moved by his raw, emotional admission. She looks down at the brief contact. When he deliberately removes his hand to give her space, a visible wave of profound relief mixed with a fleeting spark of loss washes over her softened features. She speaks a quiet response to him before her internal thoughts completely take over.
It is incredibly hard for me to just blindly believe that right now. But thank you. Did he actually just let go of my hand to prove he wouldn't push my boundaries? Every instinct I have is screaming that this has to be a calculated tactic, but part of me actually wants to believe it's real.
Roman gives a slow, understanding nod. Recognizing that sweeping promises can only do so much right now, he chivalrously hands all the logistical control of the evening right back to her.
I know building that kind of trust is going to take a lot of time, and I am more than willing to put the work in. But right now, in this exact moment, what can I do for you? Tell me what you need. Do you want to just sit here in the quiet? Do you want to talk about something else entirely to take your mind off it? Just tell me what will make you the most comfortable right now.
Entirely unguarded, she holds his searching focus, profoundly relieved by the absolute lack of pressure as she voices her simplest, most honest desire.
Honestly, I think I just want to sit right here. I don't want to talk about the past, and I definitely don't want to try and figure out what happens next. I just want to finish my wine and sit next to you for a little while longer without having to overthink every single second of it.
Having secured her own emotional boundaries, she actively decides to take the conversational lead, probing his internal state with genuine, unguarded curiosity.
I have spent the last 15 minutes explaining exactly how terrified and overwhelmed I am, and you have just sat there being the perfectly composed protector. But what about you? You asked what went through my mind during the kiss. I want to know what you actually felt.
Roman realizes she is actively choosing to engage rather than retreat. He completely sheds his composed persona, allowing his own raw, intense emotion to surface as he leans forward just a fraction to answer.
I am definitely not as composed as I look right now. When it actually happened, all I felt was this massive, overwhelming rush of relief and then pure adrenaline. I have been wanting to do that for a very long time. The fact that you actually trusted me enough to drop your guard and let me in, honestly, it completely took my breath away.
Elara lets out a soft, breathless laugh, deeply moved by his raw honesty. She holds his steady focus, actively choosing to dig deeper into his emotional state and finding immense comfort in his shared vulnerability.
A very long time? You hid that incredibly well. But hearing that you felt that much adrenaline and that it actually took your breath away too makes me feel a lot less crazy for being this overwhelmed. So tell me about the relief you felt. Were you just relieved that the waiting was over? Or were you actually worried I was going to panic and pull away at the last second?
Roman's warm smile deepens at her direct, unguarded question. With absolute, transparent honesty, he addresses his initial physical attraction before exposing his deeper emotional fears.
Well, yes, you are an incredibly beautiful woman. What man wouldn't want to kiss you? When I first saw you up on that terrace, I stopped dead in my tracks. I was attracted to you instantly. To say that a man wouldn't want to be physical with you would be an absolute lie. But don't mistake my waiting for a very long time as just being about the physical. It has become incredibly emotional for me. So, to answer your question, the relief I felt was both. I was relieved because I finally got to close that distance after wanting to for so long, but I was also terrified that the second I actually touched you, your instincts would take over and you would pull away. The fact that you didn't panic, that you actually leaned in and let me hold you, that was the greatest relief I have ever felt.
Elara lets out a soft, breathless laugh, completely disarmed by the raw, masculine honesty of his confession. Actively choosing to peel back another layer, she voices a vulnerable admission of her own before gently probing his failsafe strategy.
I spent that entire evening on the terrace, trying to be completely invisible, knowing that you actually stopped dead in your tracks. I won't lie, it definitely flatters the ego. I didn't panic because, for the first time in years, I actually wanted to lean in and let someone hold me. But it does make me wonder, what exactly was your contingency plan if I had panicked and pulled away?
Roman absorbs her breathtaking admission. He answers her probe with absolute sincerity, proving once again that his priority has always been providing her with a safe space.
If you had pulled away, I would have simply taken a step back and given you space. I told you I have all the patience in the world. I wouldn't have walked out or pressured you for anything more. I would have just sat right back down and waited until you felt safe enough to drop your guard again.
Elara lets out a slow, trembling breath, profoundly moved by the absolute lack of pressure in his contingency plan. She fully grasps the magnitude of his patience.
You have no idea how completely disarming that is. Every other man would have taken a panicked reaction as a personal insult, or tried to push harder to fix it. The fact that you would have just stepped back and waited. I think that is the exact reason my instincts didn't take over, because you actually gave me the choice not to.
Roman absorbs her realization with a slow, deeply respectful nod. Operating flawlessly as the grounded companion, he speaks with raw, unwavering sincerity to validate the absolute safety he has built for her.
I will always give you the choice. I am not here to force my way in. I am just here to be with you. And if being with you meant waiting out there for another 6 months until you felt safe enough to drop your guard, I would have done it without a second thought.
Dropping her focus to her empty glass, the sheer adrenaline of the evening finally wears off, leaving her entirely ready to embrace the emotional ceasefire.
I have spent a long time treating every interaction like a war, constantly expecting to have to defend the walls. Knowing that you were perfectly willing to just sit in the courtyard for that long, it means I can finally stop fighting. But I am completely emotionally drained. I don't want to analyze my instincts or process anything else tonight. I just want to stop overthinking and just feel. Though, looking at my empty glass, I think I am going to need that fourth round to actually do it.
He lets out a quiet, appreciative breath, giving a slow, affirming nod. Gladly accepting her terms for the rest of the evening, he smoothly transitions back into a relaxed, easygoing companion, shifting his weight just enough to look around the low-lit lounge for the bartender.
The war is officially over. You don't have to fight your instincts anymore, and you can absolutely stop overthinking. We are completely done with the heavy processing for the night. You just sit right there and rest. I will flag the bartender to get round four ordered, and we can just enjoy the quiet.
Elara watches the bartender set down the fresh fourth round of drinks, immediately reaching for her glass to take a long, deliberate sip. As the wine settles, the heavy, emotional exhaustion completely dissipates. Sinking even deeper into the plush velvet couch, the heavy lapels of his oversized suit jacket slip just a fraction. She tilts her head, flashing a lazy, uninhibited smirk that signals the heavy processing is over, and the tipsy architect has officially arrived.
You know, for a man who just officially declared a ceasefire, your posture is still entirely too perfect. I am fairly certain you haven't slouched a single time since you sat down. It is incredibly intimidating, and frankly, it is starting to make me feel completely uncoordinated.
Roman picks up his own fresh glass, a rich, quiet laugh escaping him as he instantly catches the distinct, relaxed shift in her demeanor. He leans in just a fraction, his eyes dancing with a highly anticipated, playful amusement as he gladly accepts the transition into their unfiltered tipsy banter.
I will gladly work on my slouching if it makes you feel better. But just for the record, I have a feeling this fourth round is going to make us both a little uncoordinated. Let's just see exactly what happens when you finally go off the clock.